This podcast series features interviews with dynamic youth from the region who have a different experience of current realities and visions for the future. Shall we embark on a brief journey through the history of the multifaceted relationship between Russia and the Western Balkans? We will talk about the intricate web of soft power influence that has shaped this dynamic, providing some factors and historical context that have defined their interactions. The focus of this episode in the Next Gen series of the Balkan Forum podcast is on the youth in the Western Balkans and analyzes how they stand in the face of this soft power. Our guest is Dr. Hajdi Xhixha, PhD, who is the Vice Dean of the Political Sciences Department at the University for Business and Technology in Pristina. She has previously taught at the University of Tirana and Alexandru Moisiu University in Durrës, Albania. In addition to her teaching career, she has also served as the executive assistant to the Albanian State Minister for the Diaspora. With a focus on educational research, her expertise lies in the intricate dynamics of Russian-Albanian relations during the communist era, specifically within the realm of international relations and security. Dr. Xhixha possesses a profound understanding of both Russian and Macedonian cultures and languages, with a specialization in artistic translation and contemporary Russian literature. Dr. Xhixha, thank you for being our guest in the Balkan Forum podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
Could you provide an overview of the historical context and key factors that have shaped Russian-Western Balkans relations, particularly in terms of soft power influence?
Well, the answer for the question is very wider, but I'll try to be very shortly, just mentioning the most important moments of the historical part. All the Western Balkan states were part of the USSR Union, which means that were directly under the soft power policies of the Soviet Union in that time, with the aim to unify all the different cultures that were not similar to the Russian culture. This was the aim, let's say, of the soft power in that time. And the most, let's say, platforms with this soft power aimed to be developed were the culture, arts, and education. So, in all these areas, in the Western Balkan states, which were ex-allies of the Soviet Union, were undertaken reforms and policies to transform their education and their arts, culture, for spreading all the Russian cultural values, with the aim to build the Russian society in non-Russian populations and the Sovietic society, also Sovietic man. So this can, let's say, briefly highlight all the soft power in that time.
How would you define and characterize Russian soft power in the Western Balkans? Nowadays.
Well, still there, still continuing. Because you should know that soft power policies that don't have immediately results, you know. So I think that in this moment nowadays we're still experiencing the results of the Soviet Union soft power, which means that even if nowadays with the war in Ukraine, Russia is experiencing a lot of sanctions, but this does not mean that we are, let's say, defended from her soft power, because the results of the past soft power Russian continues and are still there, and we have to think how we should minimize these results, and then we should also build new strategies to prevent from the future, let's say, soft power suppression
efforts.
Yeah.
Dr. Xhixha, what are the main tools and strategies that Russia uses in terms of cultural diplomacy in our region?
Well, I have to make a clearance now because cultural diplomacy it's not only Russian phenomenon. You know, all the powers and the superpowers do cultural diplomacy, and this means that generally
Even the smaller powers, I assume.
yes, but I just so the tools generally are the same, which means there are foundations, which is educations, experiencing or exchanging students, academics, forums, institutions, you know, everything that shares idea, that create a unified opinion, that create a good image of Russia, for example, in these non-Russian societies and states, which links networking of education establishments, everything that is related to this. But this is not only specifically of Russian, you know, because other states also operate through these tools. So the tools are, let's say, remain the same for the all actors in the international, let's say, areas that do soft power. So that's why we can do good things on preventing, let's say, or minimizing soft power of Russia. Why I say minimizing? Because, you know, when you talk about the culture, you can't prevent it, because cultures give and take from others, you know, cultural relationships. But when culture is used as a tool for doing politics, this is the part that we can do something for preventing.
And since you work with the youth, you are a university professor, to what extent could the youth in the Western Balkans be susceptible to Russia's soft power, all these tools and mechanisms that you mentioned? So how is that manifested?
Well, the youth, now we are talking about the tech generation. What means that the youth can take a lot of information from the media, from these, let's say, social apps, networks, where mostly are controlled by Russia. So they take a lot of informants that Russia serves to them. And the youth now has a lack of information about Russia. They don't read, they don't know the past of Russia, they don't know all the things that Russia has done during the history with the soft power. And this is, let's say, it's concern. It's concern. But the question is, what should we do? You know, great powers like US, for example, and others, they have integrated in their curricula, or they have done programs in faculties for Russian studies, for example. It's a very easy thing that we also can do. Okay, we cannot inform the whole youth, but we can create, let's say, a new generation of experts who know really Russia and can divide the information from the, let's say, propaganda, from the fake news, and the real information about Russia, the real knowledges about the politics of Russia, and how to prevent to defend the society and to prevent and minimizing the soft power of Russia.
And looking ahead, what do you think? What are the potential future trends or developments in Russian-Western Balkans relations, specifically concerning Russian soft power?
I think that Russia will still, let's say, work on the cultural diplomacy, because Russia, also including the geographical distance with the Balkans, it's close comparing with the other Western states. So it gives to her facilities to know more about Balkans. And she knows more about our cultures, our ethnic conflicts, our ethnic differences. So she will use that. You know, she will continue on working on cultural diplomacy, because it's very favorable for the region and very favorable for her to work on that. So that's why I will re-mention now that we should also inform the youth through education and through massive information about the real information and knowledges and all these political part, let's say, political tools of soft power that Russia will do.
Wow, thank you so much. You have presented us with some very intriguing information regarding Russia's soft power in terms of its relations with the Western Balkans. Thank you, Dr. Xhixha, for your time and the information you shared with us.
Thank you.